There are things a president can do that we just think are the wrong policy. And there are things presidents sometimes do that make us question the entire democratic process. And I'm punching my mic already because I'm so fired up about this, that got the president elected in the first place. Today is one of those. Donald Trump has suggested multiple times that we should bomb hurricanes to stop them. It sounds like a satirical news headline. It sounds like a joke, but it's the suggestion not of a random 73-year-old guy that you just saw urinating underneath the subway platform. These are the words of a 73-year-old guy who happens to be president of the United States, and the White House is not denying it. Here's a paraphrased quote. This is the stuff of horrors. I got it. Why don't we nuke them? Trump said. They start forming off the coast of Africa. As they're moving across the Atlantic, we drop a bomb inside the eye of the hurricane and disrupt it. Why can't we do that? Per Axios, who is reporting on this, asked how the briefer reacted to Trump's suggestion. The source says that the briefer said to Trump, "Sir, we'll look into that." They're placating Trump. This is how it works behind the scenes. Trump says, what about bombing or nuking hurricanes? And they say, "Sir, we're going to take a look into that." Trump reiterated the suggestion that the government can intervene with bombs against hurricanes before they make landfall multiple times. And listen, Trump seems to think he knows a lot about nukes, right? Remember this beauty?
Having nuclear, my uncle was a great professor and scientist and engineer, Dr. John Trump at MIT. Good genes, very good genes, okay? Very smart. The Wharton School of Finance, very good, very smart. You know, if you're a conservative Republican, if I were a liberal, if I ran as a liberal Democrat, they would say I'm one of the smartest people anywhere in the world. It's true. But when you're a conservative Republican, they try, do they do a number? That's why I always thought of went to Wharton, was a good student, went there, did this, built the, I have to give my credentials all the time because we're at a little disadvantage. But you look at the nuclear deal, the thing that really bothers me, it would have been so easy, and it's not as important as these lives are. Nuclear is so powerful. My uncle explained that to me many, many years ago, the power, and that was 35 years ago. He would explain the power of what's going to happen, and he was right. Who would have thought?
Yeah, so that was all one sentence, by the way. The briefer in another case, when Donald Trump suggested bombing hurricanes, was reportedly, quote, knocked back on his heels, and that it became so quiet in the room that you could hear a gnat fart in the meeting, according to a source that spoke to Axios. Trump has reportedly brought this idea up multiple times with the Department of Homeland Security, with national security officials, with a senior administration official. Asked about this, the White House is not denying it. They said, "We don't comment on private discussions that the president may or may not have had with his national security team." That's an admission that this was suggested by Trump, okay? In the world of politics, if you are presented with something completely ridiculous that of course didn't happen, like, hey, we heard Donald Trump suggested going out and personally murdering people in the streets. Like Trump wants to go out and shoot some people. Is that something Trump said? You would immediately have multiple officials saying, absolutely ridiculous. The reporting is false. Never said it. Absolutely ridiculous. They said something here that's almost as crazy. Why don't we bomb hurricanes? And the White House is saying, we don't comment on what the president did or didn't say. And there's another administration official who's actually defending the idea, saying that, quote, Donald Trump's goal is simply to keep catastrophic hurricanes from hitting the mainland, which is a good goal to have. This is a defense of the idea of bombing hurricanes that Donald Trump has suggested multiple times. So let's go through it. Trump's not the only person to think of this idea, okay? Back during the Eisenhower era, it was considered, we knew a lot less at the time, is it possible that we could use these new bombs that we made to disrupt hurricanes? 70 years ago, however long ago it was. Scientists agree it just won't work, period. The only disagreement that exists with this story is, did Trump suggest bombing or did Trump suggest nuking the hurricanes? So bombs, non-nuclear weapons versus nuclear weapons. There are reports of both. That's the only disagreement that really exists here. Now, it's also kind of interesting that in the background of this, once again, it's always near non-white people that Trump is thinking of dropping the bombs, right? Like, I get this is probably just a coincidence, but Trump is thinking, let's bomb the hurricanes where they form near Africa. Maybe coincidental, but just sort of notable nonetheless, given how this administration has been run. If Trump were a family member or a friend, if you cared about him, if Trump was a personal contact, you would have staged an intervention by now and you would have gotten the person some help. How did we elect someone this stupid or unhinged? And then the answer is, well, because 60 million people thought this was a good idea. And that basically tells you everything you need to know about the American electorate. This is a crisis. The crisis is Trump, but the crisis is also that there are tens of millions of people who are going to enthusiastically vote to reelect the guy in November of 2020. Ultimately, this is going to be a get out the vote election. And that relates to what I want to talk about next.